going to spend a little bit of time on the floor on our hands and knees. And so if you're concerned about the soreness in your knees being on the floor for a while, I would suggest grabbing a towel and just folding it up a little bit thick to have on the floor for your knees to rest on. Okay, so your knees are going to be about hip width apart, stacked under your hips, right? So we're not way back here, we're not way over here. Looking for roughly a 90-degree angle at the hip and back. Arms are shoulder width apart. Fingers are splayed. Thumbs are wide. Wrists are stacked under the elbow and the shoulder respectively. And really take a moment to play with moving the weight through your hands. Notice how it feels when you do put more weight into the heel of your hand versus when you send that weight a little more forward, distribute it through your fingers. I personally like having my index and middle finger together and the rest of my fingers splayed. I don't know why, that just feels more stable to me. You could give that a go. But we want some splay to the fingers to have a really nice wide base. Now, if you have something that you can look in beside you, like a mirror, or maybe you set up your camera like I have mine right now, you can see your back. We don't want to be collapsing through the shoulders. We don't want to be dipping through the low back. We're not really wanting to be arched already. We're trying to find that nice, neutral tabletop position. Okay? Check in with your elbows that they're not hyperextending, locked out. You want to have just a little bit of a springy bend to them. And you can play with having your toes tucked under or flat against the floor. Notice what that does for you, what kind of sensations arise, if one's more comfortable than the other, if one feels more stable than the other. And now we are going to start to inhale as we let our back dip, chest rises a little bit, looking slightly forward. And exhaling as we round. Head hangs. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. Follow your breath, repeating another couple of cycles, and just notice as you're introducing spinal movement, do you lose track of what your elbows are doing or how the weight is distributed in your hands? And if so, start to send your attention back to these details just a little bit. Sometimes it's easy to get so focused on one part of a movement that we completely abandon another part of our body and don't realize that we're doing something that isn't great for it. So it's important to get better at making our awareness a little more broad, keeping everything just a little bit tuned in the background. Okay, let's give these wrists a break. Let's come back to tabletop. We're going to send the knees a little wider apart. Toes are going to touch in the back, and we're going to lower our hips towards our heels. Now, I'm not coming all the way into a child's pose just yet. I'm just going to send my gaze forward a little bit. I've still got a little bit of weight through my arms, but not a lot. Most of it's through my legs. Now, if you don't have this much knee or hip flexion, that's okay. You might be more here. The point is we're taking some weight off of the hands. If you're here, but this is still too much on your hands, you could lower your forearms to the floor and be in this kind of position. You're going to be a little more pitched downwards in the torso, but that's okay. You could also play with shoving some blankets or blocks or things between your calf and thigh to give you some support. And if you were going to be in a position like this for a while, you could also shove some things underneath your torso so that you have some support underneath your body. Now I am going to continue lowering more fully into child's pose here. So I'm going to send my arms forward. My forehead is going to rest on the floor. Taking some nice inhales and exhales. This is a great position to really feel how your ribcage expands and retracts as you breathe. We're going to walk the hands over to the right a little bit, introducing a little bit of a side bend through that left side body. Trying not to go too far to the side where your left hip totally lifts away from your heel. Sending that left armpit a little bit towards the floor if it's kind of lifted away. Walk the hands back through center over to the left side. And coming back to center. Just a quick moment here to finish off child's pose in a nice neutral spine. We're going to come back up through tabletop. Couple of brief cat-cows. All right, now to finish off this practice, we're just going to do a little bit of foot sliding. So hopefully you're on a surface where you can slide your foot. I'm just going to come off my mat for a moment and fold it up a little bit so that when I kneel back on my towel here, my feet are on hard floor behind me. I've got my toes curled under. Now this is going to involve a little bit of core, very gentle core. You're not bracing and squeezing to death. Very gentle core work because we're going to be going from our weight evenly distributed on 4 contact points, sort of 6 if you continue to consider your toes. And it's going to be shifting to 3. So what we're going to do, I also highly suggest that you wear socks for this. What you're going to do is you're going to start to shift your weight away from your right knee ever so slightly and just notice what happens through your body as a result of that. And we're going to start to slide the foot out behind us until we have a straight leg. And we're going to slide it back in, put that knee back down, let the weight settle on the knee, and just notice how things shift back. Okay, and then we're going to slide that foot out. Notice what happens through your spine, through your pelvis. Slide it back in. Let's try the left leg. So now the weight's going to go a little bit more into the right knee as we slide the left leg out. Straight leg. Toes are still in contact with the floor. Slide it back in. Notice how as you shift your weight back to all 4 points evenly, how your body settles back, what undoes that happened when you moved the leg back. Sending it back another time. And bringing it in. All right, let's just rock it out. Again, take some pressure off those wrists. So we're just going to send the bum towards the heels, back into tabletop, towards the heels, back into tabletop. And if it's comfortable for you, you can sit back on your heels, or you can get yourself seated on the floor, whatever you need. Hands resting on your thighs, rolling the shoulders up, back and down, tall spine, lengthening through the neck, sending the crown of the head towards the ceiling, taking some nice deep breaths. Alrighty, I hope you enjoyed that practice. We went through just some very minimal core involvement, balancy kind of stuff on all fours. I hope that was okay on your wrists. And I will see you next week.